good. I think we're good to go. I'm going to call this September 5, 2023 meeting of the Henderson City County Planning Commission to order. I want to welcome everybody. Got a really good group here. I thank you all for coming. We appreciate all your help. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
David Dixon.
Here.
Kevin Richard.
Here.
Bobby Jarrett. Here. Matt Arnold.
Here.
XR Royster.
Here.
Dickie Johnson.
Here.
Gary Gibson.
Here.
Gray Hodge.
Here.
Stacy Denton. Kevin Herron.
Here.
Frank Boyette.
Here.
Heather Tays.
Here.
Do we have a quorum?
We do.
Very good. We've got several public hearing items before us tonight. I'll entertain a motion to go into public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of going into public hearing, say yes.
Yes.
Anybody opposed? Hearing public hearing. First order of business is approval of the minutes from the August 1, 2023 meeting. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of approving the minutes, say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Minutes are approved. Before we move on, I would like to propose the commission impose these guidelines as the speakers this evening. We've used these before to help us make sure that everybody gets an opportunity to speak and try to stay within some type of schedule. I'll read this and ask for the motion to approve. If the Henderson City County Planning Commission regularly scheduled meeting for 6 p.m. Tuesday, September 5th, 2023 has not been sooner concluded and adjourned, it will stop at 9 p.m. and by motion and vote of the Planning Commission be continued and reconvened the following night, Wednesday, September 6th, 2023 at 6 p.m. and stop at 9 p.m. and by motion and vote of the Planning Commission be continued and reconvened at 6 p.m. and stop at 9 p.m. from night to night after that until finished. Meeting rules. The Planning Commission wants to hear all evidence, comments, statements, positions, suggestions, and questions, collectively called comments. Each presenter may or may not allow questions during their presentations at their discretion. All general comments will be heard at the end after all presentations by staff and the applicant, unless the chairman elects otherwise or unless changed by vote of the Planning Commission. There will be no time limit on attorneys, and attorneys will present comment first. We will begin with attorneys, then non-attorneys. Attorneys may ask questions directly. Questions from non-attorneys must be presented to the chairman, either verbally or in writing, along with whom the question will be directed to. The chairman will ask the question. That is, non-attorneys may only ask questions indirectly. Each non-attorney will initially be given 3 minutes. After every non-attorney has had 3 minutes, if there are non-attorneys who would like additional time, an additional 3 minutes will be provided. And this procedure will be repeated until everyone has had an opportunity to present all they desire to present. Speakers are asked not to repeat something another speaker has said, but may come forward in person and say they agree with one or more other speakers and present anything new they may have. Planning commissioners may, of course, comment and ask questions at any time. That concludes that proposed guidelines. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the speaking guidelines as presented, say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Very good. Motion passes. First item on the agenda is rezoning 1150 with a narrative development plan. Ms. Marks, I think you're going to help us.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Rezoning 1150 with a narrative development plan is submitted by LE2 LLC, Charles E. Branson, managing member, for the property located in the city of Henderson at 109 2nd Street, being property ID number 1-7-3-20, containing approximately 0.065 acres. The applicants are requesting a zoning change map amendment from Central Business District to Riverfront 2 with a narrative development plan for consolidation to an existing lot zoned RF2. So if you will look at the screen here or in your packet, the blue highlighted area that is currently purple is the lot that we are discussing. As I mentioned, they are looking to rezone that lot for consolidation to the lot next door. So this one right here. I mean, as you all know, two different zones can't be consolidated together, so that is why they are requesting this rezoning. They have submitted a narrative development plan, and I can read that into the record for you if you would like.
Please do so.
Okay. In regards to the rezoning for property ID number 1-7-3-20, 109 Second Street, the undersigned certify that they are the only property owners who are the subject of the rezoning request. By the execution hereof, the owners do hereby restrict the application to rezone the subject property with this narrative development plan. The applicants do hereby limit the use of the subject property in such application to rezone is finally approved to an addition to the adjacent building located at 101 through 103 Second Street, 200 and 202 North Water Street. If the application to rezone is finally approved, the .065 acres will be consolidated with the adjacent property at 101-103 Second Street, 200-202 North Water Street. Any uses for the new addition will comply with the requirements of the RF2 zoning district. And I do believe that the applicants as well as their agent are here if you have further questions for them, but I do have findings to read into the record whenever you're ready for those.
Okay, thank you. Does the commission have any questions for staff? And does the commission have any questions for the applicants? With the applicant or their representative want to address the commission in some fashion?
Good evening.
I need your name, sir,
Chris Hopgood,
your address.
318 2nd Street.
You promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Very good.
This is, as Jennifer stated, is the building on the corner is, the plan is to expand it and into the vacant lot. So there are two different zones. We need to rezone the vacant lot so it can be consolidated and then the newer building on the corner can expand. Tim Skinner's here to answer any questions about site or design.
Any questions for Mr. Further questions for the applicant? Mr. Skinner, you want to address the commission?
Tim Skinner, 101 Second Street.
You promise to tell the truth, the whole truth?
Yes,
and
sir.
nothing but the truth? Very good.
Has been explained over and over, that's exactly what the plan is just put an addition onto that building, two different zones, and we need to change the zone to the RF2 so we can consolidate that and move forward with the project.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the gentleman? Thank you, folks. Thank you. Anyone else like to speak in favor of this rezoning? Is there anyone here who would like to speak in opposition to this rezoning, or maybe just has a question about it? No one has anything to add? I'll entertain a motion in regard to rezoning 1150 with the narrative development plan.
You want to raise the...
Oh, excuse me, finding the fact. And go without finding the fact.
Yes,
Please.
Rezoning 1150 with a narrative development plan submitted by LE2 LLC, Charles E. Branson, managing member for the property of the city of Henderson at 109 Second Street, being parcel ID number 1-7-3-20, containing approximately .065 acres. Applicants are requesting a zoning change map amendment from Central Business District to Riverfront 2 with a narrative development plan for consolidation to an existing lot that is zoned RF2. A proposed motion would be, I move that the Planning Commission recommend that the Henderson Board of Commissioners, the city, approve rezoning application 1150 with a narrative development plan changing the zoning classification from Central Business District to Riverfront 2 for the subject property. And I leave this motion open for other members of the Planning Commission to add findings of fact in support of this motion because the proposed rezoning does not agree with the future land use map, the comprehensive plan. However, the existing Central Business District zoning classification is inappropriate and the proposed RF2 zoning classification is appropriate because the lot currently adjoins an existing RF2 zoned parcel and will be consolidated with that parcel. The proposed development will create a positive infill on a vacant lot in downtown, and the property has adequate infrastructure for the development.
Very good, thank you. Any other questions or comments? I'll entertain a motion in regard to rezoning 1150.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to adopt the proposed motion that was just read into the record as my final motion to approve.
Second.
You have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Heather Chase.
Yes.
Frank Boyette.
Yes.
Kevin Herron.
Yes.
Gray Hodge.
Yes.
Gary Gibson.
Yes.
Vicki Johnson.
Yes.
XR Royster.
Yes.
Mac Arnold.
Yes.
Bobby Jarrett. Yes. Kevin Richard.
Yes.
Very good, the motion passes, thank you all. We're going to move on to rezoning 1151. Ms. Marks, I think you're going to help us on that one.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chairman. Rezoning 1151 submitted by Cliff Hagan Boys and Girls Club Great Futures LLLP for the property located in the city of Henderson at 735 North Elm Street, being parcel ID number 1-17-1-1, containing approximately 1.343 acres. The applicants are requesting a zoning change map amendment from residential 2, R2 medium density, to general business. And I do have findings to read into the record, but as you guys can see here, we are referring to the Boys and Girls Club, previously the Armory, and they are looking to rezone so that they are able to put some signage on their building.
The current zone will not allow that proposed signage.
Correct.
Commission have any questions for staff?
Just to clarify, based on those colors, everything on the opposite road frontage on Elm is already general business.
Correct, the red is general business, and then over here, on this side here, that's residential office, so that is a type of business zone as well. Then you've got the R2 in the orange, and R1 in the yellow.
Do we have the applicant with us this evening?
We do, as well as their agent.
Your name, sir?
Mr. Chairman, Steve Gold, 134 South Main Street, Henderson, Kentucky, 42420.
You promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Good, good.
And I'm here representing Cliff Hagan Boys and Girls Club Great Futures LLLP. I'm doing that pro bono and not in my capacity as county attorney. The subject property is in the city and no appeal will go to the Henderson Fiscal Court. I just want to make sure that was clear for everybody. But as was stated, what you'll see here is that the three other corners of that intersection all have a business signage there. So this is within keeping of everything else at that intersection. And as many of you know, that Cliff Hagan Boys and Girls Club is taking over the Armory, which has been a National Guard Armory for a long time, apparently in a residential zone. And in order to put signage where people actually know where to drop their kids off, we were told we needed to get this rezoned in order to be able to put those signs in. We've also got Steve Winkler, who's the CEO of the Cliff Hagan Boys and Girls Club with us as well, as long as several other members of our advisory board.
Okay. Any questions for this gentleman? Anyone else like to address the commission in favor of this project? Thank you all. Thank you. Anyone have any questions about this or some kind of perhaps opposition to this proposal? You got findings of facts?
I do. For rezoning 1151, again submitted by Cliff Hagan Boys and Girls Club Great Futures LLLP for the property in the city of Henderson at 735 North Elm Street, being parcel ID number 1-17-1-1, containing approximately 1.343 acres. The applicants are requesting a zoning change map amendment from residential to medium density to general business. A proposed motion could be that I move that the Planning Commission recommend that the Henderson Board of Commissioners, the city, approve rezoning application 1151, changing the zoning classification from medium-density residential R2 to general business district for the subject property. I leave the motion open for other members of the Planning Commission to add findings of fact in support of this motion because the proposed rezoning is in agreement with the future land use map and the comprehensive plan as it shows the area developing as general business.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from any party? I'll entertain a motion in regard to rezoning 1151.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to adopt what Ms. Marks read as finding of facts in regards to the rezoning of 1151.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Kevin Richard.
Yes.
Bobby Jarrett. Yes. Mac Arnold.
Yes.
XR Royster.
Yes.
Vicki Johnson.
Yes.
Gary Gibson.
Yes.
Gray Hodge.
Yes.
Kevin Herron.
Yes.
Frank Boyette.
Yes.
Heather Tace.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Motion passes. Moving right along to rezoning 1152. Mr. Commission.
Yes, sir. Rezoning 1152 with a graphic development plan submitted by the City of Henderson and Henderson Distilling Company LLC for the property located in the City of Henderson at 0 North Water Street, being parcel ID number 1-8-3-6, 422 North Water Street, being parcel ID number 1-8-3-5, 105th Street, being parcel ID number 1-8-3-6, containing approximately 2.16 acres. The applicants are requesting a zoning change map amendment from RF2 to Central Business District with a graphic development plan to construct a small distillery in downtown Henderson. And those are the existing zones. So what you're seeing here is the existing Hempel Pole Yard and the existing Hempel Distribution Center and the existing current office, but that will not be part of the project. The city will retain ownership of that, but it is part of the rezoning, but not part of the distillery project itself.
Okay, remind us what the current zones are, please.
The current zones for all three parcels are RF2, which is Riverfront 2.
And the adjacent purple,
That is Central Business District. So what you're seeing is the proposed development plan. The applicant is planning on to keep all the existing buildings. The existing entrances will maintain. There are 2 on Water Street and 1 on Main Street, and then a small one on 5th Street. The building in blue is a proposed production facility, which is approximately 8,000 square feet. If the rezoning is approved, it will come back to the Plan Commission for site plan approval. You may be familiar with that. That's where we look at detailed things like parking, lighting, things of that nature. Staff has prepared draft motions for you. There is one for and against. That will direct staff to come back with findings of fact to support your decision, but there is one for each, for and against. With that, I'll do my best to answer any questions you may have, and I believe the applicant and his counsel are here to answer questions.
very good. Any questions for staff on this project? Get this started. The applicant is here, or the representative. We got co-applicants here, right?
We do, sir.
Would either one like to address the commission? Your name, sir?
Andrew Powell,
Address?
710 North Main Street, Henderson.
You promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you. I'm Andrew Powell, I'm President and Limited Counsel for Henderson Distilling Company, LLC. I'm here along with the City of Henderson. City of Henderson's the current owner, so I think they were the filed applicant, but we are successor interest through approved purchase of the real estate. We're excited to be before you today because I, along with a group of investors, are offering to bring what our research shows to be probably the largest tourism-based investment in Henderson in at least 30 or 40 years. One of the largest investments in our downtown, probably in the same amount of time. So I'm from Henderson, obviously, and our group is excited. Whiskey, bourbon in particular, is now Kentucky's top export. And bourbon culture it has taken over this whole Commonwealth. And in fact, Henderson had a very robust distilling history prior to the Volstead Act, which is what we commonly call prohibition. So we've not had a distillery in Henderson in over 100 years now. And we are so excited about this opportunity, partnering with with the city and the county and economic development to be able to bring this craft distillery to town. That's sort of my opening. Is there anything in particular, Mr. Chairman?
Any questions? If you'd like to share more, you can go ahead, or we may have to call you back up.
Sure. Well, let me share you a little bit about what we are going to do and what we're not going to do. First off, this is very much going to be a craft distillery. This is not going to be some cranking out Buffalo Trace, Maker's Mark, Jim Beam. The system that we're putting in, at most, could produce, I about 0.1% of what Buffalo Trace produces, about 6,000 barrels a year. What we're actually installing to start is only a capacity of about 1,500 barrels a year. So it's a very, very small operation. And even if we expanded to full capacity, and you gotta keep in mind, this is all regulated by the federal government, by the Tax and Trade Bureau. We'd never get approved to put a big, massive facility here. What we are wanting to do is let Henderson shine. Bourbon distilleries are uniquely Kentucky, but we want to make something that's authentically Henderson. We're so excited to show off our town. So when we first brought this idea to mind and the city proposed this site for us, or other members of the community proposed this site to us, we really latched on to the idea that we could become a vital, great neighbor in growing our downtown, our riverfront, and our community in what is now Kentucky's, my opinion, and the opinion of millions of others, favorite industry. Of course, you know, equine industry may have something to say about that, but we're really excited about all that. You'll see in the development plan, we're going to save all the buildings that are currently in place. We're going to renovate everything. Originally, we had hoped to put our production facility in the building, the building labeled storage along Water Street. But that building's about 150 years old. And we had, I think the last count was 6 structural engineers take a look at it, and it just was not going to support what we wanted it to do. So we are building a new state-of-the-art facility that will fit into the community, will fit the area right there along the railroad tracks. That's the blue building right there. And you'll see the little cutout on the east side of that building, the little addition right there. That's actually going to be the still house of the production facility. That's going to be the windows on the sides and the front all the way to the top. That way we can put lights, because we're going to have a beautiful 30-foot, 12-inch column, continuous column still. That's really going to be a statement piece and really something that people are going to love to come and see and take pictures of and take pictures with. And it's really going to be something that we're all going to be very proud of. The visitor center is on Main Street. And looking at the comprehensive plan, working with our downtown partners, pedestrian traffic, we thought it was best if we ushered the public in on Main Street. That way we can sort of funnel them more downtown, more towards our restaurants, more things like that. There's not as much commercial development on Water Street just yet. So we thought that's going to be where the public faces. That's why you see all the parking on that side of the building. We're going to have an outdoor patio space right there. And really just a lot of great things coming as part of this development.
Thank you. Any questions?
Not at this time.
Okay. Thank you, sir. We may call you back. Oh, of course. I'm sorry.
Does the applicant waive any deadline the planning commission may have to make recommendations to the city regarding the application for the map amendment rezone?
Sort of caught me off guard. Any deadline, what's the statutory deadline?
60 days from the day your application was deemed administratively complete.
So it would significantly hinder our progress based on, because the way it works for us is Hempel, of course, still occupies the facility. As soon as they're out, we're going to be ready to move, and pushing that on the line would adversely affect our development.
You can't meet that deadline. If he doesn't waive it, I strongly recommend you deny this. And I'm very much for it personally.
Well, can you expand on that a little bit?
The
I'm sorry,
planning
Mr. Chairman.
commission is going to table your motion for your application for staff to do proposed motions and findings of fact to bring back to the next meeting.
Can I jump in there real quick?
Sure, please.
The best case scenario is you coming back to the planning commission with your site plan next month, correct? So that site plan and these findings of fact be heard at the exact same meeting. What TJ is requesting is that if for some reason there's some sort of snafu with the recommendation, the planning commission, let's say there's 61 days, that you will not seek retribution against the planning commission for that. From a time frame standpoint, your site plan, at best case scenario, could be heard at the planning commission's October meeting with these findings of fact.
So, let me phrase this. Are we getting a determination and we're just waiting for the
Correct.
findings of fact?
Determination.
I'm
You'll
with
get a determination tonight, but you won't.
Just
have-
putting together the,
You won't have a motion and findings of fact to refer to the city until next meeting.
okay, because they're not ready yet.
Correct.
I understand.
They can't be.
Just because of the complexity of the rezoning, we felt it was wise to have all the data. The decision is still made tonight. Supporting data will be heard publicly next month.
Sure. No objection.
So you're waiving.
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Counselor. Anything else you'd like to share right now?
I don't believe so, but I'm happy to answer any questions anybody
We'll
has.
probably ask for more. Anyone else here who'd like to speak in favor of this project? No one? Yes, please. Your name, sir?
My name's Kurt Hamilton. My address is 110 North Main Street, Henderson, KY, 42420.
Excuse me, do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Difficult for a lawyer, but I do.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Don't strain yourself.
I won't, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman and members of the board, I'm here to speak in favor of adopting this and granting this rezoning. I've been a property owner, and I come here to you today, not as a lawyer, but as a property owner and kind of a developer on a small-term basis in downtown Henderson. Over the last 20 years, we've owned property. This is the most exciting thing to happen to our downtown in 20 years. And if this commission decides otherwise, not to grant it or to delay it or what have you, I think will really hurt the momentum that downtown Henderson has showed. We have an outstanding offering for visitors here in downtown Henderson. We have the riverfront, we have restaurants that are coming, the brewing company is happening, more development is happening. It's so exciting what's going on here. I strongly encourage this commission to do this. And I will add that I wasn't asked to come here, and frankly, I'm surprised I'd be the first to stand in front of you today. But I strongly ask that you approve the application so this project can move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for this gentleman? Thank you. Anyone else like to speak in favor of this project? Yes, sir, please. Your name, sir?
Ben Johnston,
Your address?
7732 Basket Cemetery Road.
And do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I most certainly do.
Good.
In full disclosure, I stand here in a lot of hats today. One as a community member, one as a board member of Henderson Economic Development, and the other as an investor. But at the end of the day, it aligns with the mission of the city of Henderson for tourism, the growth. It's good, clean industry. And it's another shot in the arm, as Mr. Hamilton said, to the advancement of this community. We are on a tremendous roll, one we haven't seen in a long time, maybe 30 or 40 years as far as the growth of this community. I'm proud to be part of it, and I look forward to y'all being supportive of the project as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions? Good? Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to address this?
I did not sign in.
That's okay.
So-
What's your name?
My name is Abby Dixon, 733 North Main Street.
Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Very good.
So, my name is Abby Dixon. I'm a downtowner, proud Hendersonian, and the director of our Tourist Commission. I think Andrew did a phenomenal job of laying out what this means for our tourism economy, which is growing. We just had a record year that actually far outpaced inflation and any other year that we've had. So we're really proud of everything that we have to offer here in Henderson. But one thing that we're missing, and we're all Kentuckians, Andrew really hit that home. It's our signature industry. It's a $9.5 billion industry in the state. We don't have bourbon here in Henderson, and we have visitors that request that information every day. And it hurts me a little bit to have to send them down the road to Owensboro. I am so proud to see two young people taking this leap of faith with their investors and presenting a well thought out plan to add to our tourism economy. One thing that I think is pretty neat, you know, there's no doubt a bourbon boom right now that currently we're missing out on. Research shows that it has not hit its peak, it's not anywhere close, and it's only going up from here for the foreseeable future. Brand USA, which is the United States of America's marketing arm, you guys get the Henderson Tourist Commission, they have actually officially named bourbon as America's native spirit, which is really cool. Not just any bourbon, but Kentucky bourbon. So when the folks at Brand USA are marketing to folks from other countries to come visit the United States of America, they're talking about New York City, they're talking about Los Angeles and Hollywood, and they're talking about Kentucky bourbon. It's one of their pillars. For bourbon to have, Kentucky bourbon, to have a spot, you know, on the world stage as far as why we're telling people that they should come to America and spend their dollars here, for our state to have a part of that, it's really incredible. And I think for Henderson to be able to capitalize on some of those dollars coming in as the westernmost point on the Kentucky Bourbon Trail perhaps, that's something that we could all be proud of, and it's something that we could certainly all reap the economic benefits of. So I'm excited to see what's to come for this new distillery, and it has our full support.
Thank you. Any questions? Anyone else out there would like to speak in favor of this project? Sir? Your name
William Litzy,
and address?
931 First Street.
And do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Very good. Thank you.
I work here in downtown at the post office. I very often come to downtown just to have something to do, visit, and I would absolutely love to have this development put in also as a proud bourbon drinker. I did see that note. Also, I am an avid biker and walker. I believe that will be some of the best things in our community, and it is in the Henderson master plan to include more biking and walking infrastructure. I'm happy to see direct access to the visitor center from the sidewalk. I really like seeing that, but I would like to see a little bit more bicycle, even just a bicycle rack near the entrance would be fantastic to see. I know this isn't right here. And then I have worked at a distillery before. I frankly made a very pitiful wage. I was injured on the job, and when I began saying that there should be a union involved, I got let go. And this was in Owensboro, in a shall not be named distillery. I would like to ask the people who are investing in this what the wages will be, what the protection for the workers will be. If we have just an industry that is real shiny and nice on the outside, but the workers are making $13 an hour and no benefits, that really isn't going to move Henderson forward as a pro-worker place to live and work in, not just to visit.
Anything else, sir?
That'll be it.
Okay. Any questions for this gentleman? Thank you. Would someone representing the applicants like to address the question of proposed wages and benefits?
Absolutely. Andrew, do I need to? Andrew Powell, 17 North Main. Still telling the truth. The question a minute ago from TJ threw me off, so I'm getting myself back together. As you may have heard, when we made the announcement a few months ago, it was because it was in conjunction with the approval from the Kentucky Economic Development Finance Administration, KEDFA, which is offering us state incentives on this project. Part of that application is we had to commit to certain wages and certain job creation. So as part of that, we promised to, by the time we open, to create 12 jobs. We foresee that it'd be upwards of 20 jobs once we're fully operating. But we've committed to at least $20 an hour as part of, full benefit package as part of working for Henderson Distilling Company.
$20 with wages and benefits?
At a size of that we're opening with, it is $22.75 wages and benefits or something along those lines.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak in favor? Is anyone here that might want to speak in opposition or perhaps have questions about this project?
Yes, Bill Latta, 334 North Water Street, Henderson, Kentucky, 42420.
Promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, sir?
Yes, sure.
Very good. Thank you.
So, I'm not in favor or opposed, I just have a question. This group putting this together had several of us that are property owners come to a meeting last Thursday to discuss the pros and cons of what they were doing. In some of my readings, these distilleries or where they store this alcohol puts off a black mold that can permeate to people's homes and to get on their siding and places like that. I happen to live right next door, which I would not want a black mold, so I want them to explain to this group how they plan on mitigating that or, you know, solving that problem, or if we do get a black mold on our black virus, fungus, whatever they call it, that they will clean it up.
Very good. Any other questions, sir?
Not right now.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Powell, would you like to address this question?
Yes, sir. Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Latta, and thank you for participating last week, too. Great people live in this area. Great people. It takes dedication to live downtown. My wife and I, even out in 7th Street, and Mr. Latta's concerns are absolutely legitimate. It is a real thing. I've been thinking about this, especially the last few days since we met, and you know, they've got these railroad, you know, trains flying by all the time. Used to have a power plant right next to them, so I understand. Let's not do anything else. I want to say real quickly is black mold is a term of art. It means something specific, and so I don't want you to think that we're talking about actual black mold, which is insidious and kills people and things like that. That's not what we're talking about. But I'm not diminishing what he's saying. I'm just saying that's not what this is. What we're talking about is, excuse me, let me get to my, I'm going to butcher this every single time. Well, I'll probably pronounce it differently every single time I say it. But it's called Bauduinia campanicensis. It's everywhere. It's not a byproduct of the distillation process. It's everywhere. You breathed it when you walked in here. But it shows that it proliferates when it's exposed to tremendous amounts of airborne vapor ethanol, alcohol. That absolutely happens. I'm not saying for a second that doesn't happen. When we first started this project, and keep in mind, I live 3 blocks from this facility. Everybody on our team, every one of our investors is connected to Henderson. We developed this with the full attention to making sure we did everything right for Henderson. And that includes our immediate neighbors. So we went out to the Kentucky Distillers Association, which, Abby, it is the Kentucky Bourbon Trail is what that is. And we asked them who can help us develop a distillery, an urban-based distillery. And we've gone through multiple consultants. We have hired a world-class engineering firm that specializes in this process, and we have made sure that what they are telling us is that we shouldn't have an issue based on our size, because it's not necessarily the distillery that causes the problem. It's like Mr. Latta said, it's the evaporation out of the barrels that releases that ethanol into the air. So, and we told, let's design this process where we stay as far away from this as possible. Now, is it a reality? Absolutely yes. Do we think we're doing everything we can to avoid and not have this problem? I promise that. And also, we promise all of our neighbors, at the end of the day, we're always going to be a good neighbor. And we will fix problems if we didn't get it right the first time. That's with any part of our business. But let me tell you a little bit about what we've done to make sure this isn't a problem. When we interacted with our consultants, they said, you're never going to make enough whiskey to cause a problem. And I've got a letter from someone who doesn't work for us. We went out, and just to make sure we were right, just in the last couple of weeks, we've had somebody review our plan, and it was Mr. Bishop's suggestion that we read that into the record here in a minute. But we went out, and everything they said that we could do to abate this problem, we have done. Starting with our distillery. We rather than big, wide open fermentation tanks that are sometimes made of cypress wood, it's from me to Member Johnson, and you see that bubbling yellow stuff. Has anybody ever been to the distillery before? You've seen that. Well, that's not necessarily alcohol evaporating, but that's yeast evaporating, and that can also possibly cause a problem. In exchange for that, we have ordered stainless steel tanks that, rather than being wide, they are tall and they are completely enclosed. So there is nothing escaping those tanks. Now, the distillation process is all about creating alcohol vapor. But that's all on a closed loop because we recondense that alcohol vapor. It doesn't escape into the atmosphere because that's what is recondensed into making what we know as spirits or whiskey or whatever it may be. So that's on the production side. We made sure that was not going to be an issue there. The second thing is we wanted to make sure that we are not going to put enough barrels downtown to cause an issue. Southern Illinois University did a research, and what they say, the amount, now I asked my wife because she's the scientist of the group, but the amount of parts of alcohol per million they found out what the parts per alcohol per million in air needs to be to make this proliferate. And they said that usually you need to be in proximity of about 15 to 20,000 barrels. It's going to take us over a decade to make that much whiskey. And we plan on making money, so we're not going to keep on storing barrels. We're eventually going to open them up and bottle them. Even if we did that, we're not going to store them downtown. We would like to have some barrels downtown. Almost across the board, tourism responses, people like seeing barrels. They like walking past barrel heads. So we would like to have a small amount of barrels because we're going to need them. We're going to need to bring them on site to open them and bottle them. We want to keep our main, our first barrel, our 1,000th barrel, that we're having you guys come and sign when we open and things like that. But we're not going to keep 20,000 barrels downtown. And one way you can rest assured of that is fire marshal wouldn't let us. There's no way that happens in a downtown area. So we're having that's the second thing, is we have about 5 sites we're looking at between our investors and economic development and other partners to build off-site barrel aging. So that is not to try to, again, A, fire, B, dealing with this issue, because it's absolutely real. I don't mean to diminish what what our neighbors are saying whatsoever. Third thing we're doing is where we intend to store barrels on site, the small amount that we will have, is going to be masonry and CMU, concrete block buildings, that are much better sealed than what you see on the Bluegrass Parkway with the big guys building a 50,000 barrel rick house every 3 months. In Kentucky, you're used to seeing the sheet metal, wooden siding, trying to get as much airflow as possible. And they're encouraging that, what they call angel share evaporation. They're trying to create that more and more. We're going to be in buildings that are sealed, so any alcohol that gets out of the barrel is going to be better caught inside the building rather than being released. Then the next thing we're doing is we've engaged a cooperage, which is who makes our new barrels. Again, twofold, part financial, part this. The bourbon industry is growing so much that 1% increase in production for Jim Beam is millions of dollars. So they've done the research to find out where the evaporated whiskey is getting out of the barrels. And almost exclusively, it's at the edges of the heads. So we have engaged, our barrel maker actually puts a food grade sealant on the heads of their barrels to make sure that nothing is, to abate that whiskey, evaporated whiskey getting out. So it's also obviously got a financial gain, but it also, a tangential benefit of this is further abatement of this issue. And lastly, for us, we will have the ability to be continually cleaning our barrels and rickhouse with food grade safe solvents to make sure that anything that's getting out of those barrels is being killed before it gets out of our better sealed area where we're holding them downtown. So when we went to our consultants, they constantly say, you don't have enough to make, it's not going to proliferate, it's not that big of a deal. But it is a big deal to us because we want to be a good neighbor. So that's why we have gone above and, well, I don't even want to say that. We've done everything we can find to do to meet the demands of what we believe will maximize our tourism aspect and our business operations while also being the best neighbor we possibly have. And if we can do more and we find out there's a way to do more, or if we just need to fix a problem, and we've said this to our neighbors, we'll be there to help them. We really will. We had a little mix up, and it's on. We had like I said, we went out and engaged somebody to look at our business plan and render an opinion on this to see what we're doing. It's pretty much, I pretty much went over what they said, but I'm happy to read that into the record if you'd like me to.
It's your choice. If you want it into the record.
Sure. Well, I'm going to do that. I don't want to belabor it. It's only like a page and a half long.
It's perfectly fine. That's acceptable.
So this is, this letter.
Okay, very good. Who's the letter from?
Monica Wolf. She is the managing partner for the Spirits Group based in Louisville, Kentucky.
Thank you.
All right. Dear Mr. Bishop and members of the Henderson City County Planning Commission, I've been asked by the Henderson Distilling Company, LLC, to review their plans for any potential issues regarding the propagation of Bauduinia campaniensis, again, that's probably the third time I've mispronounced it, in or around the development. I have worked with numerous startup and developing distilleries across the United States for over a decade and have just launched the Blending House, which is a contract barrel storage and blending company in Shelby County, Kentucky. I also own a barrel brokerage where I help distilleries secure barrels of whiskey for their operations. I'm going to call it BC from now on, sorry. I'm very familiar with BC and have helped distilleries such as Henderson Distilling Company ensure it will not be an issue. First, it should be understood what BC is. It is not mold, nor is it a byproduct of the distillation process. It is a naturally occurring microflora that exists all over North America, Europe, and Asia. The Indiana Department of Health released a study in 2019 that reported no findings of health risks from short or long-term exposure. The microflora is a very slow-growing organism, but marked growth can appear in the increased presence of fermentation and ethanolic vapor, often experienced at bakeries, bogs, and as associated with the distilled spirits industry around bonded warehouses where barrels are stored. As part of the barrel aging maturation process, a small amount of alcohol evaporates out of the barrel and into the air. After extensive growth, it forms a black, velvety, crust-like substance that can be removed with soap and water. With regards to the Henderson Distilling Company's development, the size and scope of the project will not be of sufficient size to cause the accelerated growth of BC. Their plans are to produce roughly 1,500 barrels per year, and if they expand their production capacity to producing without stopping, could produce roughly 6,000 barrels per year. In all of the distilleries and research I have seen, this is not enough to accelerate the growth of the microflora. The published issues with BC are in areas in direct proximity to hundreds of thousands of barrels of whiskey. As an example, I live near downtown Louisville, Kentucky. There are currently 7 distilleries downtown with at least 2 more under construction. 3 of these distilleries are storing multiple times more barrels than Henderson Distilling Company as part of their development. There are at least 3 distilleries that are producing multiple times more barrels than Henderson Distilling will have the capacity to produce. There are no marked issues of BC in downtown Louisville because even combined, there does not appear to be enough airborne ethanol to allow the organism to grow. Despite my opinion of the diminished risk of BC at Henderson Distilling Company's development, I have been made aware by reviewing their plans that they are taking steps to reduce the risk even further. They will be installing stainless steel closed-top fermentation tanks. Every aspect of their distillation process will be closed, not allowing the escape of any ethanolic vapors. Despite not having the production capacity to cause an issue, even if they expand to potentially continual production, they plan to store the vast majority of their barrels off-site, which again are what causes the proliferation of BC. It appears they only plan to store a small number of barrels for the purpose of getting ready to bottle, for single barrel picks, and for tour aesthetics. Further, the barrels they do plan to store on site will be in masonry CMU buildings that are more secure and sealed better than traditional barrel warehouses in Kentucky that utilize uninsulated wooden or metal siding intended to allow air to escape the building. Lastly, evaporation means loss of product, which also means loss of income, and for multiple reasons, Henderson Distilling Company is working with cooperages that apply a food-grade sealant on the heads of the barrels where leakage and evaporation occurs the most. This loss prevention increases product output, but also applied here will also reduce the amount of airborne ethanol escaping the barrels. Given my experience working with distilleries of different sizes, especially with barrel storage, it is highly unlikely that BC will proliferate at Henderson Distilling Company's distillery given its production capacity, even if expanded to maximum production. Further, Henderson Distilling Company is undertaking significant additional steps to prevent any issues with the naturally occurring microflora. Respectfully, Monica Wolf, Managing Partner, The Spirits Group, 1037 East Washington Street, Louisville, Kentucky.
Very good, thank you.
Would you like for the letter itself to be put in the record?
Yes, please.
Would you hand it to the chairman?
I can do that, absolutely.
And I have a copy as well.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Any questions?
Thanks, sir. Would you like for us to know anything about the lady that wrote the letter?
Sure. Monica Wolf is who the Kentucky Distillers Association referred us to when we first started developing our project. We ended up working with her father for a little while. He received a bad diagnosis last year and passed away. So his protege, Donald Snyder, is our ongoing consultant. But Monica has helped over 100 distilleries get off the ground, and now she's specializing in the storage and selling of barrels of whiskey.
Thank you. Any questions? While we have you here, are there other impacts or potential impacts that the neighbors might feel? Noise?
I'm sorry, did you?
Other potential impacts?
There are lots of questions. We had, and I'll just go over with what we've been asked. As far as noise goes, it's not going to be anywhere near as loud as the railroad.
Smell?
As far as olfactory nuisance, odors and smells, that was actually when we first approached the city about developing this in Henderson. That was like literally the first question the city asked is, what's this going to smell like? What's it going to do to the neighborhood? So we actually took a group of downtown community leaders to downtown Louisville last year to show them, we took them to distilleries of like size, some significantly bigger, to show them that you're actually going to have to be either in immediate proximity to the production building or even inside to smell anything at our size. It won't be an odor, but I don't want you to take my word for it. The reason we took that is that way other people in our community would have that same effect. And just so you know, the people that we took was the mayor, city manager, Ms. LaCosta with the chamber, Abby Dixon with tourism, Missy Vanderpool and Whitney Risley with economic development, Tom Williams with Henderson Water. I'm forgetting somebody. Oh, and the judge, and Judge Schneider.
Okay.
And just because we wanted to show, just like with everything else, we went out and hired the right people to make sure we did this the right way. Because Henderson only gets one shot at this. We wanted to make sure that this was going to fly for our community.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for this gentleman? Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to do this project, one way or the other? No questions? Do we have findings of fact?
No, we're going to
Is that correct?
table it,
We're going to work on
but
it.
the tabling motion will be for
Right. We're going to, the commission, I think, we're going to indicate our approval or disapproval, and then come back next month with,
motion in fact.
yeah, the
Mr.
findings of
Chairman,
fact.
I would like to remind everybody that the Plan Commission only makes a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners.
That's correct. Rezoning cases, we're making a recommendation to the, in this case, the city commission. Other cases might be fiscal court. They make the final decision. Any other questions? Commission have anything further? I think we've got proposed motions in front of us here. This is all we've got to say about this? Very good. I'll entertain a motion in regard to rezoning 1152.
Mr. Chairman, I move that staff prepare a proposed motion and the findings of facts based on the record, recommending approval, rezoning number 1152 with the graphic development plans for the property located in the city of Henderson at 0 North Water Street, PID number 1-8-3-4, 422 North Water Street, PID number 1-8-3-5, 105th Street, PID number 1-8-3-6, containing approximately 2.6 acres, submitted by the City of Henderson and the Henderson Distilling Company, LLC, that the matter be tabled until the next regular meeting, that the public hearing not be reopened at the next meeting, and that no additional public comments will be heard at the next meeting, that the recommendation will not be reconsidered at the next meeting, and that this vote not be considered final action. This motion is regarding the applicant's request for a zoning change map amendment from Riverfront 2, RF2 to Central Business District, CBD, with a graphic development plan to construct a small distillery.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Kevin Richard.
Yes.
Bobby Jarrett.
Yes.
Mac Arnold.
Yes.
XR Royster.
Yes.
Dickie Johnson.
Yes.
Gary Gibson.
Yes.
Gray Hodge.
Abstain.
Kevin Herron.
Yes.
Frank Boyette.
Yes.
Heather Tays.
Yes.
Very good, motion passes. Thank you all for all your help. we're going to move on to some proposed amendments to the city zoning ordinance. Your name, please?
Dawn Kelsey,
Address?
637 North Main Street.
Promise to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Very good. Please proceed.
As you all probably have heard on the news, the Kentucky General Assembly actually passed House Bill 551 in its last session, which allows sports gaming in the state of Kentucky through the Kentucky Horse Commission. Under that statute, it does allow off-site betting. It does have to be through a approved horse racing facility. When we were looking at our zoning ordinances, we realized that we do not have any type of provision if we were ever to attract a parimutuel site to Henderson. We don't have anything in which to do that with. So what we've asked, and the commission has sent to you, is a proposed definition for gaming facility, which means, and I think it's up on the screen, any facility which is licensed by the state of Kentucky to conduct simulcasting, parimutuel wagering, and/or sports wagering as provided and permitted under Chapter 230 of the Kentucky Revised Statute. When staff went back to look to see where an appropriate zone would be for this, the decision was that it should be in the highway commercial zone, but only as a conditional use, because it would provide some certain challenges which the BOZA Board of Zoning Adjustment would need to look at and make sure that that had the appropriate conditions. So we bring this before you tonight to ask for you all to review that and determine whether that recommended change should go back to the city commission.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, and I believe that betting begins September 7th in this state of Kentucky.
Commission have any, and this is affecting only the city.
Yes.
Does the commission have any questions? Thank you. We are in public hearing, so is anyone else here who'd like to speak in favor of this amendment? Anyone here who'd like to oppose it or may have a question about it? Commission has no questions? I'll entertain a motion in regard to this proposed text amendment to the city zoning ordinance.
Mr. Chairman, just to confirm, this is a recommendation for the city to either approve or deny.
Yes.
With that said, then, Mr. Chairman, I offer a motion to recommend the city approve the text amendments as discussed, the update section 2.1, defining what a gaming facility is, and the addition of section 21.3, adding it as a conditional use only to highway commercial, the gaming facility.
Second.
There are a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Heather Chase.
Yes.
Frank Boyette.
Yes.
Kevin Herron.
Yes.
Gray Hodge.
Yes.
Gary Gibson.
Yes.
Vicki Johnson.
Yes.
Exar Meister.
Yes.
Mac Arnold.
Yes.
Bobby Jarrett.
Yes.
Kevin Richards.
Yes.
Very good. Motion passes. We're moving on to the condos of Copper Creek PUD.
Chairman.
Development
Don't we have another one there?
Plan. Excuse me. Another text amendment?
That motion included both 21 or 2.01 and 21.03?
I believe it
Yes,
is.
it is.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you very much. Okay, we're moving on to condos of Copper Creek, a PUD development plan. We're going to discuss it in conjunction, or at the same time, with the item lower down on the agenda, the condos of Copper Creek preliminary plat and construction drawing. We do propose to vote on them separately. Okay? So, Mr. Bishop, can you introduce this project to us?
Yes, sir. The first item to discuss is the condo at Copper Creek PUD development plan submitted by the Chambers Properties, Mike Chamber, for the property located in the city of Henderson, located at 3040 Copper Creek Drive, being parcel ID number 64-28.6, containing approximately 6.64 acres. The applicants are requesting approval for 31 lots in a planned unit development. That is going to be heard in conjunction with condos of Copper Creek preliminary plat and construction drawings. This is for the same property, which is 3040 Copper Creek Drive, parcel ID number 64-28.6. Again, for 31 lots in a planned unit development. Section 1501 of the city zoning ordinance requires that a development plan, which is the first item we're hearing, be brought to the planning commission. Jeffrey, you have to go ahead. So this is considered the development plan as required by the zoning ordinance. With this, you see a lot of detail, but the preliminary plat and the construction drawings are going to be much more detailed because you're going to see street grades, you're going to see easements, water line, things of that nature. So the applicant is proposing 31 new lots, one of which will be a detached or more traditional one-family house that we're used to seeing, and the other 30 will be in the form of condos. The applicant is proposing construction of approximately 560 linear feet of public street and sidewalk on both sides of the streets. The development plan also shows adequate green space, and it shows a 6-foot wide walking trail that is private and only for the use of this development. We also would recommend approval, but we would recommend approval subject to bonding, and I have put those at your desk. The first item for bonding will be for water lines and storm sewer collection. Water would be $73,290. Storm would be $52,700 for a grand total of $125,900. The second item for bonding would be public streets and sidewalks. Public streets would be bonded at $145,200. Sidewalks would be bonded at $48,400 for a grand total of $193,600. With that, staff will do our best to answer any questions that you may have.
Commission have any questions for staff about this
So
project?
then, just to confirm, Brian, total bonding would be over 300,000. You add the two together.
Correct.
Everybody sees the bonding amounts that were provided. Two sheets, right? 2 sheets of paper. Good. Any other questions for staff? Do we have the applicant with us this evening or their representative? Your name, sir?
My name is Frank Williams, president of Ronald Johnson Associates and Engineers and Surveyors in Madisonville, Kentucky.
Okay, do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do, sir.
Very good. How can you help?
Well, I'm just here to answer questions or explain a little bit more. Mr. Bishop did an excellent job. The development is being proposed by Mr. Mike Chambers, Chambers Development Company and Chambers Properties. We're trying to find or supply a need of housing in the city of Henderson. We want affordable, quality housing. We feel this plan meets that need. It's a lot of younger folks, a lot of seniors don't want tremendously huge lots to maintain. These provide quality homes in a safe environment. It's actually on a cul-de-sac with a relatively small length, a little over 500 feet. It'll basically be its own little village within itself. It's actually, we're proposing 2-bedroom, 2-bath homes, 1.5-car garage, extremely affordable. As Mr. Bishop said, we are going to have a sidewalk. We're also going to have a walking path around the rear of it for exercise for the people to use. It's an ideal location for this kind of housing for people that want to golf. It's adjacent to the golf course. path is easily seen on the south side of the development. It's also nice in that you can see the intersection up here, so we're only a couple hundred feet from Green River Road. So the traffic that will go into here won't influence Greystone subdivision hardly at all, unless it came in a back way, but it's easily accessed to Green River Road, so traffic will come in and go out. We are looking for, as I said, quality homes. We're looking to screen the area. We're going to provide screening down Green River Road, so that people across Green River Road won't see the backs of them. We're also going to provide screening to the one house that's shown there on the eastern portion. In the northeast corner, there'll be screening on the east side of that walking path there to block them, and also for the proposed single resident dwelling on the southwest corner. There'll be screening there. There's already screening adjacent to the golf course path on the south side, and natural vegetative screening on the west side, which is shown along the ditch. It's natural and will be left in place.
Very good. Any questions? Commission has no questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Would you like to address the commission,
Ty
sir?
Palmer, counsel for Chambers Properties. I really have nothing to add to what Mr. Bishop said and what Mr. Williams said.
Thank you very much.
Relatively complete. Thank you.
Sorry.
I assume you're talking about screening, and are we gonna get into that?
We can. There's a screening plan specific to this. I believe Jennifer's going to that now.
Okay, all right.
Give us 1 second.
That's it. Kind of hard to see.
Commissioner Johnson, can you see the green symbols on the drawing? That is reflecting their proposed screen.
So we're going, the utility, electrical utility asked for the screening to be on the inside of the walking path to help keep, and these are 6-7 foot type of an evergreen tree, but they want them inside walking path so that in case something did happen that it grew taller, they wouldn't get into the power line that runs down Green River Road. So that's why they're inside the walking path there. And then you can see up on the northeast corner there, they're down that property line to screen from the existing residents. We're keeping them out of, there's a utility easement at various places, and screening will not, vegetative trees will not be placed in the utility easements.
You're saying they're gonna be evergreen?
There's the name of them is on there, and Mike, can you tell me what they are?
Norway spruces. Norway spruces.
Norway spruces?
All right. One of my concerns when we're looking at screening, and I'm well familiar with Mike's development, and when I see a tree die, it's not very long, he's got one replacing it. But when you're looking at a project this size and you're looking at a lot of screening around it, want to make sure I get a commitment that we replace those screening trees if they happen to die. Don't want,
Yes, sir.
you understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And I think
I feel
can-
sure Mike can do it, but I want to make, I'm going to get a commitment.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
You have that commitment.
Okay. Do you have the authority to make that commitment?
Well, he was shaking his head, so.
That's the difference.
Okay, I apologize. I do not, sir.
Perhaps we need to have the applicant approach. sir. Need your name,
Mike Chambers,
your address,
7692 Green River Road.
promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Very good.
You heard my question,
I
Mike.
did. It's a very good point, because, anyway, we'll give you a letter of commitment for however long the subdivision, I mean, we usually do it for, that's what I do for a living, so I'm used to it.
Yes.
So we'll do a year,
I mean, when you're looking at
5 years, whatever you want.
Project that's,
Has a covenant running with the land as long as the subdivision.
I agree. I think that's a great point.
Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming it's gonna be a great looking project when it's finished.
Yeah,
And-
well,
and I
that's what I do
expect
for a
it
living.
to
Yes, excuse me.
Stay there. Okay. So we've got a commitment out of Mike.
Is that sufficient, counsel?
I was gonna say, where's Mike? This is a PUD, I'm assuming there would be a homeowners association involved with these or not?
Well, yeah, as far as like roofs and any kind of maintenance or anything, that'll be included in the purchase of the condo. Yes.
Because that could also be part of that too, that we're, which goes on past the time you're responsible for it. Make sure that they stay in there and stay healthy.
One thing, I think Steve, I'm sorry, Mr. Davis from City Codes can elaborate on this better than I can. Mike is doing this voluntarily. The screening is not required by the zoning ordinance.
Thank you. Any other questions for these gentlemen?
No.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Do we have anyone else here who would like to speak in favor of this project? Do we have anyone here who would like to speak in opposition or perhaps have questions about what's going on? Yes, please, ma'am.
Andrea Troster, 512 Hickorywood Court.
And you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Good.
First, let me say to Mr. Johnson, the developer did put in partial screening about 2 years ago, and they are about a third of them brown. Don't know if they're dead, but they do appear to be dead, a third to half. I'm in opposition from this from a density and traffic position. Clearly, he's within the PUD zoning ordinance, which I have. However, it's quite wide open. You get to almost you get through Z with what he could put there. My bigger issue, for sure, is the traffic, but the surrounding neighborhood is all R2 and R1. I printed that. And the design of this development at the density is actually R5, which is the urban density from the city of Henderson. So preferably, I would like to see them spaced out more, primarily from the traffic. We have in Greystone, we have around 60 homes, or plots. They're not all built. We all head out that first Woods Point exit. This will be 2.5 times what was proposed in 2019 when Home Place got rezoned to this PUD district. It's not shown, but that house on, it is a Copper Creek address, but they have to back out on Woods Point. That's a lot of traffic coming in with the burden now of, assuming there's 2 cars per unit, of 60 cars in and out. So primarily, I would just like to ask that we reduce this. I think too, it's within the zoning that the planning commission is able to approve or change. It's up to you guys to make this better for the community, for the neighborhood that's established. Many of my neighbors have had homes there for 10 or 15 years. This was not what was proposed in 2019. Fully understanding that he is within the current zoning.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else like to add to this discussion? Your name, sir?
Kevin Hazelwood, 3107 Copper Creek, Henderson, Kentucky, 42420.
Promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you, sir.
As the lady spoke, this section was supposed to be part of Copper Creek. Now they're wanting to put multiple dwelling houses in there, and it was designed for 10 to 12 houses. Now they're wanting to put 31. That's way too many houses. That's way too much traffic for this. If Mr. Chambers wants to put in his own driveway and not use Copper Creek, that's a different deal. We have up there in Greystone, we don't have the best water pressure in the world. Most of the houses up there have to have pumps on it, booster pumps, to increase their water pressure. Is this gonna impact that? And the walking paths, the gentleman wanted to talk about walking paths. In 5 years from now, 10 years from now, who's gonna maintain those walking paths? Is Mr. Chambers gonna do it? Is the city gonna do it? Is it gonna be part of, it's gonna be evidently its own little neighborhood. So if that's the case, it shouldn't use Greystone's entrance. He should develop his own entrance. And Ben, obviously, he's gonna have his own set of rules for the neighbors and everything that. Because all the neighbors up there pretty much have brick homes, have nice homes. I don't know what type of homes he's planning on building, but I doubt they're all gonna be brick homes. So it's probably not gonna meet the covenants of Greystone. So he shouldn't be allowed to use our entrance. He should be able to put his own entrance in and let them deal with it that way. That's all I got.
Okay. Any questions?
Who can answer his question about the entrance?
The
in and out?
entrance would be Mr. Boone. I believe he's in on it.
Name, sir?
Doug Boone,
Address?
13548 Highway 1078 South.
Promise yourself the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
I think that,
Mr. Chairman, can you give your title, please?
City engineer.
I think the question has to do with the traffic flow and the possibility of a separate entrance there.
Well, currently, we would not want to put a separate another entrance onto Greener Road because of the traffic headache. Plus, there's the big ditch that runs along Greener Road on that side. It'd be a big problem for everybody.
So the city is directing him to use the existing roads there now?
Existing road, yes. He'll, which point? Is that what it is?
It's not his really decision.
No, it's the city street. Yes.
Okay, that's what I'm asking. It's not his decision to put in a new road. It's y'all's decision to approve, and y'all are suggesting that he use this?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
If anybody can answer the water pressure question?
Let's how about the water issue?
I believe Mr. Matt Calvert from HWU is here for that.
Good. Name, sir?
Matt Calvert with Henderson Water Utility, 230 North Alvasia Street.
You promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Good. It's been mentioned that there are existing water pressure issues here?
I believe some of the homeowners have mentioned that issue, and I believe most of it has to do with the elevation of the homes compared to the water tank. It's actually not a volume issue, but an elevation issue. These condominiums will be at a lower elevation slightly than most of the homes. I believe most of the issues are on just a few of the homes that are higher that I've been made aware of, but I do not believe it would be an issue.
Okay. You don't think this is going to affect other people's water pressure?
I do not. Now, the developer's engineer will have to do a hydraulic model when they apply for their state permit. Now, that may say something different when that model gets completed, but we have not seen that model to date.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Thank you, sir. And the other question the gentleman posed had to do with ongoing maintenance. Could the applicant repeat the comments about future maintenance?
Mr. Chairman, I can address one part of that. It would be a private walking trail, for the city definitely would not be maintaining that.
Okay. So I guess we need to hear from the applicant as to who will. You're already under oath, sir, so.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. In consultation with Mr. Chambers, the private walking trail will be maintained by the homeowners association. So it will be a paved walking trail. Should last, it's restricted to foot traffic. So, once it gets down, it should have a 20-year life without any problem. But it will be maintained by the homeowners association.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions or comments regarding this proposal? Yes, sir.
Overall lead, 608 Greystone Court.
Okay.
Please repeat your name.
Phil Raleigh, 608 Greystone Court.
And you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
I'm just curious if there was a traffic study done with the influx of cars. If you look on Hickory Court, there's roughly, I don't know if you can pull that up, but there's 6 condos on the corner in the same amount of acreage that this is planned to go on, where you're not even supposed to park on the road in Greystone Court. This is gonna cause so many cars in that intersection that somebody's gonna get hurt. I'm in orthopedics, and this is a complete disaster with how many cars you're gonna put within a 6 acre. I mean, you can't even turn around that cul-de-sac if there's cars sitting there. So I would just ask you guys, has there been a traffic study done to account for the flow from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. or 5 to 6? The other piece I would mention is the fact that that intersection of Green River and right there as you exit, I don't know if you can pull it up, but even today, it's already a death trap because as you go down the hill and you hit that intersection, cars are flying at a high rate of speed. Mr. Chambers lives right by there, so he's well aware of that. But I've almost been hit pulling out of there, and I've been back there for 10 years. We're gonna double the amount of traffic, so I wish you guys would at least consider taking a look at this because I feel like we're just getting dumped on this. Lastly, that subdivision arguably is one of your best pieces in the city. I actually live in Henderson. I'm a transplant from Nashville, work in Evansville. You've got a lot of working professionals back there, and I'm telling you right now, I mean, regardless of me, but you're gonna drive a lot of professionals out of that area if you just run Greystone there.
Anything else, sir?
No.
Any questions for this gentleman? Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Doug Boone would be the one to answer traffic study questions.
Okay, very good. Can you shed any light on that question, sir?
No, there was not a traffic study done, even with, when Greystone was developed originally, there was not a study done for it, or was there done one for?
Okay.
As an engineer for the city of Henderson, do you think there should have been one or needs to be one done?
I mean, to me, I don't think it needs to be done.
Okay. I'm just asking.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any other questions? One more. Yes, sir.
Kevin Hazelwood. What type of houses is he gonna build, these condos? Well, I guess that's the main thing. Nobody, we've talked about it, but what are they gonna be?
Okay. Can the applicant address that, please?
Mr. Chairman, this is the document provided by the applicant to the staff.
Okay.
It's on the screen.
So as you can see, there's a rendering of the proposed housing development structures there. Two resident condo adjacent. I mean, very attractive in my opinion. I don't think it will deter from the property values within Greystone. one iota. I actually live on a golf course in Madisonville, Kentucky, Madisonville Country Club. There are some structures or condo development being planned right now within our subdivision on the outskirts, similar to this. And we've had no opposition to it. Again, I think this type of structure for residents meets the needs of a lot of people within the city of Henderson. We don't want to deter from Greystone. We don't want to cause traffic problems. That was one of the reasons I mentioned that there won't be a lot of traffic through Greystone. I won't dispute there will be a little bit more traffic there at that one intersection out on Green River Road. Probably will be twice as much once Greystone gets fully developed too. You know, it's not fully developed. So as it continues to grow, you're going to continue to add more houses and more cars to that development. At some time in the future, KYTC may decide to do a traffic study, may want to do a light at that intersection. A representative from the Kentucky Department of Transportation was at one of the first meetings. Didn't say anything about it. So, you know, as a professional engineer, I've worked on a lot of projects that do mandate traffic studies, larger commercial developments of shopping centers and so forth. I don't think 30 more lots is going to be that drastic an impact.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Well, sir, to elaborate on the concept drawing though, is that siding only, or is that a combination of brick and siding in the
I'm
rendering?
going to let the developer comment on that.
Okay. Please, sir.
Already sworn in, right?
Yes, you're good to go.
So, it's LP siding is what it is, and it's a product. It's a popular siding. It's a lot of builders are using it. It's if you look at it, you got stone in the front, and then you got your LP siding. They're very attractive, energy efficient. I don't know. I mean, I live there myself. I live right by here. My daughter and my son-in-law live right here. So I'm not going to do anything that's not going to add to what I'm asking you guys for.
What did the price range of the unit will be selling for? Have any idea around?
I'll be honest with you, sir. There's a lot of money that was brought up in the very first part of this meeting. Infrastructure, water lines, and street cost, curb and gutter, and all this kind of stuff that goes into it. You know, it's building materials are higher, and they're going to be kind of on the upper scale. I can't put a number on it because I mean it's just there's a lot of cost involved here.
Mr. Chambers, can you at least speak to approximate square footage you foresee?
1,300 square feet, and then it's got a garage and a half, which everybody likes.
And had you got parking room in front of the garage?
Yes, sir.
Off the street?
Yes, sir.
And parking in the garage?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Gibson, I think Mr. Davis needs to address that. Specifically in the RP or the PUD zone, parking is not allowed in front of that. It needs to be, parking has to be in the garage.
Excuse me, you can't park a vehicle in the driveway?
Not in a PUD zone. Parking cannot be in the front of the building.
Everybody understand that? Everybody was aware of that? I wasn't. Okay.
Is that it with me?
Yeah. Any other questions for this gentleman? Thank you very much.
I have a question.
Yes, please, come up.
Sharon Evans.
And you come up here so we can get you in the minutes.
I wasn't registered to speak. I'm Sharon Evans, 623 Hickory Wood Court in Henderson, Kentucky, 42420.
Excuse me.
I'm at the very back of,
Do you promise to tell the
Yes,
truth? the
I
whole
do.
truth? The truth. Thank you, ma'am.
I'm at the very back of Greystone in a failed condominium project. We have separated now. Greystone began about 2005. All the lots are not sold yet, and that's 2023. My concern is not as much of what has been discussed so far, although I do see the traffic as a real problem because I walk Green River Road and I see how the cars fly down that hill. This is the worst possible place that you could put more cars going in and out, simply because of the other traffic, the way they drive. My question was, what are these condos, they're proposed condos, but in a PUD, can you not be either townhomes or apartments also? And I don't really understand the PUD.
Sure, that needs to be directed to city staff.
Okay.
Since it took so long for the condos to, quote, get off their feet and really are not finished yet, there's lots still available. What happens if that, quote, fails, just like ours did, and then you want to change it into apartments to rent? That zoning doesn't prevent that, does it?
We should address this with the master plan. The master plan is going to limit this to the condos at this point.
Okay, but it's not an R2, it's a different zone, a smaller area.
PUD is more fluid in what it allows. I believe the lady previously made a good point that there's a lot of uses allowed there.
Right.
So to come back with apartments or anything like that, they would have to come back to the plan commission for a new master plan. So I think there's one thing that we need to discuss is that condominiums also implies the ownership. So each individual structure through the zero lot line and the lot itself is going to be an individually owned lot. It's not necessarily like a duplex.
Right.
Does that help at all?
I know what that is because we split duplexes up.
Yeah, you guys had some.
Yeah, really. The other question that I have is this R2, the lady right there on the corner of Fieldstone, or Copper Creek, I'm sorry, that you come into and have to bypass, what's it going to do to her property? You have to, for all these cars to get out, you're gonna have to go by that one. I wouldn't wanna own that home. 30 cars at least passing it.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt her.
No, that's fine.
This is, we brought this because we want to get a little historical context. So that, the traffic there is always meant to have a lot of traffic going by there. If you bear with me 1 second, I'll explain why. So this is the master plan from roughly 2005. So as you can see here, we are at this area roughly. So several lots there, but originally, from 97 to 2005, there's different variations of this. There's quite a few number of lots that are meant to go out here. This is where Home Place is now, roughly in this area. So this entrance and this driving aisle, driving street, is always meant to be there. So that volume of that lady's house has always been about what it would be.
Okay, I don't think the homeowners in Greystone knew that, however. In other words, our plan doesn't show that.
You mean your plat that you were, okay. So that would be on here, you could see this area here, that's the area for where your condominiums were. This was gonna be condos at that point, and what you referred to earlier, that was that part. So as you can see, this has gone through a lot of changes over the years. So you have different cul-de-sacs. There was supposed to be a proposed loop here, another loop here that never came to fruition. So lots of changes from 2005, 97 to 2005. But to your point about the ladies' residence, there was always going to be a lot of traffic on that.
Okay. All right. Again, I don't think that we as homeowners got that picture
Yes, ma'am.
when we bought out there. Okay, thank you.
Any questions that we can seek an answer to, ma'am? I'm sorry. Was there something specific you wanted answered that we didn't get an answer for you? There was some
I'm sorry.
condos and apartments and townhouses, what?
Well, he said you would have, he did answer my question, is that right now it's condos, and if it, quote, failed like ours did, and he wanted to change it, you know, you're left stranded in the middle of it, you gotta do something with it, and that's where your homeowner association, we still don't have a homeowner association for our little area back there in Hickorywood Court, the condo, you know, group that failed. So that's another thing. With the Greystone homes, a certain percentage of them in the ordinances had to be sold before you could have the homeowners association. And that's, you know, that's for the ordinances, but those people have really got to look into that, or who's going to keep it up.
When you say ordinance, or what, can you give us more detail?
Well, of the, you know, the sidewalks, the trees, all of that sort of thing. That's major expense for 1,300 square feet homes that are sure not going to expect all that. And trees do die. It's just the way it is. I had a lot of winter kill this year.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Anyone else like to add to
Just
this?
like to point out, on your last plan, it had 2 exits. So you had a lot more homes, but you had 2 exits, because you connected Copper Creek with, which is now looks like the entrance to Home Place. So if there were an accident at that intersection or something, there would,
Close it down.
you crossed Copper Creek with the road, there isn't just one exit to that entrance as you're proposing now. That was just my point.
Thank you. Yes, sir?
Gentleman made a point that the 1,300 square foot homes, what's going to keep somebody from, I have rental property, what's going to keep somebody from coming in there and buying this and me renting it out? I mean, are they going to become eventually rental homes if this doesn't go through, doesn't happen right? I mean, we don't want rental property in Greystone. And the one lady brought up the deal that, yes, there is 60 lots back there. Well, 60 lots, that's a lot of traffic. You're talking about putting 30 lots in 5 acres. That's a whole lot of traffic in 5 acres. I mean, that's, come on, think about this.
Thank you, sir. Yes, please. Your name, sir?
Steve Davis, City Codes Administrator,
Address?
1990 Barrett Court, and I do swear to tell the truth.
Very good, thanks.
I just want to clarify the parking and PUD. I'm going to read from the ordinance. It says, "On-site parking area shall be located at the rear or side of the building except for driveways connecting to the rear or side of the street parking area, unless modified by the Planning Commission. No on-street parking shall be located at the corner of 2 intersecting streets." So actually, if you guys wanted there to be any kind of on-street parking or anything else, you guys are able to do that. Is there any other questions?
Back up again and finish up 2 intersecting streets.
Yes, yeah, you cannot allow on-street
So-
parking where it shall be located at the corner of two intersecting streets. Part of the reason is line of sight.
Yeah, I understand, but
Yeah.
I'm trying to look at this plat. And
Steve, was I incorrect in that the parking cannot be allowed in front of the building?
Well, I guess the planning commission could say otherwise.
But as submitted. As the ordinance is written, as it's submitted, there's no parking in front of it, unless the plan commission changes the plan themselves.
Yeah, it's not what we would obviously would desire, but
I'm specific, you can't park in the driveway, you can only driveway in front of your garage.
you can park in the driveway.
Okay, that's what I meant.
You can
On
park in the
street,
drive,
on street
and you can park in
parking.
your driveway. You can't park on the street.
Yeah.
That's
Well-
neat to give you two spots.
Well, you can't park on the street when it's at the street corner.
Yeah, but you can park in your driveway.
You can park in your driveway.
Okay,
But it's
that's
not on the street,
freedom
you can
of-
park on the
for
street.
another car.
Well, I'll read it again for clarity.
Yeah, the last
It's not written
little
very good.
section there, it says the two intersecting streets.
On-site parking areas shall be located at the rear or side of the building, except
Paul,
for
sorry, Paul's right there, please. Read that first sentence again.
on-site parking. That means at the house shall be located at the rear or side of the building.
Not in the front.
Except for driveways connecting to the rear or side of street.
Rear or side,
Yes.
not front.
Rear side of street parking areas unless modified by the planning commission. So you guys can modify that.
That can be asked.
Yeah. No on-street parking shall be located at the corner of two intersecting streets. Just want to clarify, read that to the
So otherwise, on-street parking is allowed, like that, unless you're at the intersecting street.
Only if it's at the rear or side, not at the front.
But you can't park in front of the house.
How can you have on-street parking?
It's part of the design standard. The design of the PUD is not meant to have parking in the front. It's that it's more aesthetically pleasing to promote a walkable neighborhood, where if it's to the side or the rear, you don't have cars in front of it. It promotes more of aesthetics. Kind of like if you look at older neighborhoods, like say the East End, they don't have garages or what we would call snout houses in the front. They have parking to the rear and to the side to make it more aesthetically pleasing.
So in the case of a proposed development like this, you got a 1.5 car garage, right?
Correct.
So you can only have one car. Where are you gonna put the other one? Cut it in half?
I understand?
You'll change it. You can change it.
Okay. We haven't been asked to alter this.
But I understand that other than these two lots, like, what is that? Is that 1 and 2? It's so small. Going into this PUD on the right-hand side, is that lot 1 and 2? It's so small, I can't make it out right here.
Yeah.
So would that be considered an intersecting road?
Are you referring?
Yeah.
So, yes. That would be the intersection road in this development.
So those two, the house and that condo unit, wouldn't be allowed to park on the street. All the rest of them would be allowed to park on the street.
I
Correct?
believe that's what the codes administrator said.
That's codes, what he said. Okay.
Any other questions?
You never did answer my question about your own property. What's going to keep it from happening?
Okay, you can speak to that one.
The applicant.
Okay, sir? Yes. Yes, I'm sorry, please. The question, I think, is what would prevent somebody from buying one of these condos and then turning around and renting it out?
These condos are going to be, have a homeowners association and be a home. They're not geared towards rentals. I have no intention at all. I want to start this project, complete this project. I live right next door to this project. I'm going to do everything in my power, and I've been in business in this town for 30 years. I'm going to do everything in my power to build a condo housing development for Henderson and maintain it to the utmost quality. And they're not rentals. They're condo homes for people to purchase. I don't know what else to say.
Yes, Counselor.
Are you willing to implement a restrictive covenant that they cannot be rented?
I will, yes, you know what, I will. Put it in.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions? Name, sir?
Tim Crawley, 609 Greystone.
You promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I will.
Thank you, sir.
I've been in Greystone for about 4 years now, and I oppose this entrance to this little community. I'm all for, people needing affordable housing, but when I built my house there 4 years ago, I never intended in my wildest dreams to have this come into that corner. I'm kind of here for my neighbor that lives on that corner of Woods Point and Copper Creek. If I would have bought that house and then have this area come in there, I probably would sell it, because I'm on a cul-de-sac and I like my peace and quiet. And this elderly couple that owns this lot now, this house, now they're going to have, there's going to be 60 to 70 cars probably coming in and out of there. I'm all for it, but I would like for the city to consider an entrance to Green River Road and change the name of it to Grantwood Hills, condos at Grantwood Hills.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else would like to discuss this project? Name, Matt?
Yes, Lonnie Campbell Hopper, and I live at 3101 Copper Creek Drive.
You promise to tell the truth, the whole truth?
I
nothing but the
sure do,
truth?
sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
My biggest concern is what a lot of people have said. I live on that corner of Copper Creek and Woods Point, and the traffic on Green River Road is just horrendous at times. My backyard backs up to Green River Road, and the noise of the cars, the motorcycles, the speed of the automobiles that come down the hill and are on Green River Road makes it so dangerous for a lot more cars to be in that area and using the entrance for Greystone. So I would like to see that we could have another entrance with this project, and it would just really cut down on, hopefully, dangerous things happening. I'm concerned about emergency vehicles getting in and out, and just a whole lot of things. That's just not a good entrance for maybe 60 more cars. I mean, it's just not there. And the noise and the traffic on Green River is just really bad, really, really bad. So that's my concern, since I'm the one that's right there on the corner. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else have a question or comment? Yes, please, sir. I believe you're already sworn in.
I am. I've delivered mail in this section for a long time. It is already one of my least favorite places to deliver mail. With the intersection being the way that it is, I can attest to there is no sort of traffic calming measures on that intersection in order to slow cars down on the approach coming from the north side of Green River Road. Perhaps if a four-way stop was put in, there could be something, but I will add as well that with this development, as a walking and bicycle advocate, I love dense development. If this was happening close to my house, I would support it, although I believe that the monotonous nature of the construction of the condos won't really attribute much to a sense of place inside of Henderson. You could take a picture of it and it could be anywhere. There is no transit connection here. The walking path does not connect to any sort of connection to any businesses. The sidewalk on Green Street is on the other side of the road, so even if you did want to walk somewhere, you would have to cross Green River Road to get to the sidewalk. For the teenagers living here, there would be no place for them to work without having to have a car to drive, which had to be parked on the street. And as a person who may have to deliver the mail there, I already have to deal with a similar situation in Village Brook and Mill Creek roads, which, once again, is a development I would love have it be placed in a different area that has a more multi-use development where people can not just live, but also work and enjoy themselves nearby that they wouldn't have to drive to. So I oppose this development.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to talk about this proposal?
I've been hearing a lot of complaints about, what is the speed limit on Green River Road down through there?
35.
Looks to me like a law enforcement.
Dickie, I had the same
average
thought.
speed is
I've been on the planning
Hold on,
commission.
excuse me, please don't speak from the crowd. We cannot address speed limit here. That is not our purview. So please do not go down that route.
The simple
But
question
you
is
can
what the
consider.
speed was.
Again, but we've had this conversation that we cannot enforce speed limit.
I ain't saying that we can, I'm saying, what is the speed limit? Most of the complaints is heavy traffic, speeding, you know, looks to me like the city needs to start doing some enforcement out there.
Any other questions? Anyone else like to address this matter?
David, I'd like to.
Oh, yes, please.
So,
Your name, sir?
Terry Wheeler, 3030 Fieldstone Drive.
You promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I guess I want to come back to the, I also have an issue with the traffic, so just for the record, I'll state that. But I have a question that's just, I guess, I need some clarification on the question about the parking on the street and the parking in the driveway, and kind of come back to all that, because my head's still kind of spinning on that. So we're saying that we're going to have potentially 31 vehicles or more that can't park in their driveway unless someone comes to this group and asks for that permission. And they can park on the street, or they can't park on the street right now? Where is the parking besides the driveway, or besides the garage, I guess is where I'm.
Yes, please.
Okay, sorry. So,
Say your name, please.
I'm sorry, Steve Davis, City Codes Administrator.
Thank you.
The ordinance does say that on-site parking shall be located on the rear or side of the building except for driveways connecting to the rear side of the street. Yeah, so the except for is kind of in question. What does that exactly mean? I think before us, connecting to the rear or side of the street parking area. So I think it would be okay to park in a driveway. I mean, I think that we would say that would be fine.
I don't think it says that, but you have the power to allow that.
That's exactly.
So how would we give them the power to do that if they're not asking for it in their,
I think you can do it, but I highly recommend that they ask for it if they want it, or if they don't, you use that as a basis to make your decision whether this is a good plan.
This would only apply to PUD.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any further questions for me?
Well, I'm just wondering about all the people that park in their driveway if they're in violation.
I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but you're our codes administrator for this, correct?
Yes, sir.
And your interpretation is that they can park in the driveway.
If the planning commission approves.
But he seemed
what
to
he
say
said.
they could, he would allow it without it, but the next codes administrator might not.
Yeah, there's a little bit of, how this is interpreted is a little bit difficult.
And I'm not trying to put anybody on
No,
the
no,
spot.
you're not-
Does the
you're not-
city need to look at
We
their
need
PUD
clarification.
and?
Yeah, I understand. It does say that no on-street parking shall be located at the corner of two intersecting streets, but it doesn't say you should not have on-street parking.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so it is a little bit of a, open to interpretation, if you will. I believe,
Who needs to address that for the city? Is that Dawn or Buzzy or who would be able to address that?
But why don't you clarify it here? You have the power to clarify.
Buzzy Newman, City Manager, City of Henderson, 222 First Street.
You promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Thank you very much.
So to answer and support Mr. Davis's comments that he's made regarding our ordinances, if this ordinance needs to be revisited, we certainly can. Right now, he's interpreting it as the codes administrator. And the thing, what I'm hearing tonight is parking allowed in the driveway in front of the residence? That's the question.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing.
And he's saying yes.
I think right now, it almost has to be
Yes.
in the driveway because there has to be at least 2 parking spaces
Per house.
per unit in my code, right? So if there's one in the garage, then the other one's got to be outside because you don't have a 2-car garage.
And I would probably ask that the applicant or his representative come back and discuss how those units are laid out. And if the intent was to have parking in front of the structure.
We need to call this to change it. No,
Thank you. Yes, we need to hear from the applicant again, please, or his representative. Okay. Question, I think, is what does the plan call for in terms of parking?
Well, in actuality, the no parking in front of the garage came as a complete surprise to me. So we were,
Excuse me, sir. We need the name again for your purposes.
I've been sworn in, and I'll be happy
Now,
to
what's
repeat
the
it.
statute?
My name's Frank Williams.
Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yes, sir. We expected to be able to park in front of the garage. You know, actually, if it was a 2-car family, you know, one in the garage and one in the driveway. I was personally unaware of the requirement of not being able to. If we need to submit that request, then I would like to submit that request verbally. I can submit it in writing later.
Do you have
But,
the
I would-
authority to bind the applicant?
No, I do not, sir. Well, no. He told me to ask, but I don't have it right.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
No one said anything, but are the garages in the front or are they going to be on the side? If they're on the side, it's a moot point.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're in the front.
Yeah.
Yeah, pull the rendering back up. So you can see the 2 garages right in the front.
that's actually the same.
It is a sign.
It's a side yard. This is a 0 lot line, these are 2 side yards.
Where would the front yard setback be?
Front yard setback will be 25 foot from the civilian setback. These are both.
Okay, we're gonna need to search.
So what's the question to me?
Well,
Are you
let us get his, well,
You can,
the question is the garage in the front?
yes.
The front is in,
Okay, wherever the garage is, the parking situation that's, I think, is in question, one car in the garage and one car in the driveway.
Yeah.
That's, and as far as if you want to add it to the record, we don't want any parking on the street. I think, I agree 100%. It's just not, it's clutter, and you can add it to the record if you'd like.
Okay, thank you. Counselor?
Are you asking the planning
Yes, sir, I am.
commission to allow parking in front of the house?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Now, but I think we have a different angle on this.
I'm not sure if it's that different. But
Okay.
If we're looking at the, what's that? No, I'm looking. If we're looking at this picture here, both of these garages on the side of the house, the building line starts, I think 25 foot. So these are both at the side yard. It's a zero lot line, being that that's the side of the house. Those properties are abutting. So, okay, I know. Except for driveways connecting to the rear side of street parking area.
So if that's the side, it's,
And this question is.
It's a moot point
Yes.
after the applicant requested the parking.
I just wanted to. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else want to comment? Other questions? We want everybody to have a chance to participate as they wish. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Leah Ferguson, and I'm at 613 Greystone Court.
Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
My husband and I have recently built a home in Greystone after looking at many places in Henderson to live. This was one of the prime properties in Henderson. The homes are beautiful. It's a very upscale community, and I hate to see this happen to this area. This has so much potential, and this just doesn't go along with our whole subdivision. So I would like to fully oppose this.
Thank you. Questions? Anyone else? Commission have any further questions? Of anyone? I think we said we would consider these matters, this matter in the two steps as outlined on the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, and one item is a public hearing item and one is not, so we'll need to be mindful of that.
You can do a non-public hearing.
This is the last item in our listed public.
I mean, he's right to interpret that.
We do not have a proposed motion.
Stronger than it's going.
We do not need findings of fact.
This is not a recommendation, this is a final decision made by this body.
First thing we're to consider is the condos of Copper Creek PUD development plan. No one else like to speak to this matter? We're going to take a minute to think about it. I want to make sure everybody has a chance.
Oh, it's all good.
You don't need funds. You don't need funds. You can do conditions, findings, for or against, table, condition.
Okay, anyone else have anything they'd like to add? Commission have anything they'd like to add, or any kind of more information? Staff have anything to add?
No, sir.
I'll entertain a motion in regard to the condos of Copper Creek PUD development plan.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the condos of Copper Creek PUD development plan submitted by Chambers Property, Mike Chambers, for the property located in the city of Henderson, located at 3040 Cooper Creek Drive, PID number 64-28.6, containing 6.64 acres. And the applicant is requesting approval for a 31 lots in plan unit development PUD. And it's subject to the bonding that was presented by Ms. Marks and Brian. For total, how much was it total? Got two different ones, 193 and 319,590. Is that correct? Okay. Is that the only?
That's the only subject to staff is requested.
Okay. That's my motion.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Kevin Richard.
No.
Bobby Jarrett.
No.
Mac Arnold.
Yes.
XR Royster.
Yes.
Dickie Johnson.
Yes.
Gary Gibson.
Yes.
Gray Hodge.
Yes.
Kevin Herron.
Yes.
Frank Boyette.
Yes.
Heather Tace.
No.
Very good, the motion passes. Thank you all very much.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
you had a request to allow parking in front of the garage. The planning commission has the power to grant that. You need a motion if you're going to grant it.
Should that not have been part of the last motion?
It was not.
I know it was not. Should it
So
not
I'm
have been?
asking, but it can easily be separate after it's approved.
Okay, so we,
And it'd be moved if it wasn't.
right, very good. So, do we want to add that condition?
I'm gonna make a separate
Make a
motion.
new motion.
I'll make a new motion to allow parking in the driveway in front of the garages.
And he said they were not going to allow parking on the street, so you might want to include that.
And
Mr. Johnson, it might be wise to add the restricted covenants that he agreed to as well with the no rental
Yes.
stipulation.
Yes.
it's already on record, but I can add those to my motion.
Please do.
And if Kevin made the second, if he agrees to the second.
I agree. Okay, so we have a new motion, we have a new second. Do we have any new discussion? Okay, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Kevin Richard.
No.
Bobby Jarrett.
No.
Mac Arnold.
Yes.
XR Royster.
Yes.
Dickie Johnson.
Yes.
Gary Gibson.
Yes.
Gray Hodge.
Yes.
Kevin Herron.
Yes.
Frank Boyette.
Yes.
Heather Tace.
No.
Very good, motion passes. That concludes our public hearing items. I'll entertain a motion to leave public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
We are out of public hearing. Do you want to go ahead and consider the condos of Copper Creek preliminary plat and construction drawings at this point? Anything you want to add to that?
No, sir.
We have that plat and those drawings in our packet. Any questions from the commission? I'll entertain a motion in regard to the preliminary plat and construction drawing.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the condos of Copper Creek PUD development plan submitted by Chambers Property, Mike Chambers, for the property located in the city of Henderson, located at 3040 Copper Creek Drive, PID 64-28.6, containing approximately 6.64 acres. Applicants are requesting approval for 31 lots in a planned unit development PUD.
Second. We have a motion.
Mr. Lawson, would you like to include this as the preliminary plat and the construction drawings? You mentioned the development plan again, so include your motion.
Oh, I'm sorry, I read the wrong one. Do I need to just make a new motion?
Just amending it to include the preliminary plat and related construction drawings.
Yeah, I apologize. Yes, I'll amend it.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Kevin Richard,
No.
Bobby Jarrett,
No.
Mac Arnold,
Yes.
XR Royce,
Yeah.
Dickie Johnson.
Yes.
Gary Gibson,
Yes.
Gray Hodge,
Yes.
Kevin Herron,
Yes.
Frank Boyette,
Yes.
Heather Tace.
No.
Okay, very good. The motion passes. Next item on the agenda is the Bentley Point Plan Unit Development Preliminary Construction Drawing. Mr. Bishop.
I believe we
Sorry.
may have jumped.
I'm sorry. Let's jump backwards and take care of the August finance report. Ms. Brandon, you gonna take care of that?
Yes, as of August, we're at 26% budget.
Any questions? I'll entertain a motion in regard to the August finance report.
Mr. Chairman, I'll offer a motion that we approve the August finance report as presented.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Finance report is approved. Next item is the bond report. Ms. Marks?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We just have one item to review for the bond this month, and that is going to be the Highway 60 development that Mr. Cornbleet is currently doing. We did have to hold a bond for a water line extension and the addition of a fire hydrant. The original bond was for $9,000. That installation is complete, and HWU has suggested that we go ahead and release that bond for that. So if you guys agree with that, we will move forward with it.
Any questions? I'll entertain a motion in regard to the bond report as presented.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion to accept the bond report as moved.
Second.
Have a motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Bond report is submitted. Now we're up to Bentley Point.
Mr. Chair, would it be possible for the commission to vote to go out of public hearing, please?
Thank you.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Okay, I apologize, I'm sorry. Next item on the agenda is Bentley Point Plan Unit Development Preliminary Construction Drawings submitted by Deer Valley Subdivision LLC and the City of Henderson for the property located in the City of Henderson at 2053 US Highway 41 North. The applicants are requesting site plan approval. You may remember this site. This is the site that we recently looked at a recent Plan Commission meeting for a rezoning. It is currently zoned RPUD, and it is the property adjacent from Barrett Boulevard to Balmoral Subdivision. So the applicant is requesting approval for a preliminary plat and related construction drawing for a 292 lot subdivision that will house one family residences only. The applicant is proposing the construction of 14,635 linear feet of roads with corresponding sidewalks on both sides. A little bit of a sidebar on this one. The applicant is not proposing streetlights, but a collaborative effort between the City of Henderson and Hempel has agreed to come in and install those at a later date. That was something that came up at the LEC meeting, which I believe Mr. Arnold and Mr. Boyette were at. I just wanted to make sure we addressed that. for the record.
And I wanted to address that also. I have some concerns. The subdivision regulations give us the responsibility to make sure subdivisions have streetlights. So as far as I understand, so far, we have not been a party to this agreement. And I would like our staff to make a recommendation on how we should proceed.
At this point, staff will work in conjunction with Hempel and the city manager. We have met with them as far as how to address this. The current plan is for the developer to install the conduit. And with Buzzy is here, I would request that he correct me if I'm wrong, that the city would purchase the poles and they would be maintained by Hempel and then later provide a bill to the city.
No, the reason I bring it up is, you know, we've got this responsibility, and if we neglect it, doesn't that open us up to some liability?
City manager?
Still sworn in.
Yep, you're good.
I'd like to address the question at hand. I was here when we put that information into our zoning ordinance to require lighting. Problem is, it doesn't say who. So in negotiations with the developer, with Hempel and the city, we have agreed as a partnership of how we're going to do this. There is no question that the street lights are needed in our subdivisions. I'm pretty much aware, Mr. Bishop, that we have followed this pretty much with all our subdivision developments. We have some that are subdivisions that are not in Hempel's territory, and that the city, I think in the past at Braxton Park, paid to install the city lights via Kenergy, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So that was done back when that was developed. So in our plan with, in conjunction with the developer, we will install, is agreed upon, streetlights in accordance with Hempel's guidelines that they have set forth in their policies. So hopefully, Mr. Boyette, that addresses the concern.
Well, at what point are we going to sign off on this plan?
I think at the LDC, go ahead.
So basically, they cannot transfer property until there's a final plat. So being part of the process, it would be like any other public improvement, sidewalks, fire hydrants, that they would be installed at that point.
Okay, on final plat, we get,
Correct.
gotcha.
Does that answer?
That satisfies me.
Does this, excuse me, does this treatment or this process need to be codified somehow? Or is this kind of, we agree to do this the next time around, or?
Well, what I will say, if you read the ordinance, it doesn't speak to who's going to do it, it just says it will be done. If there were ever going to be a change of who's responsible, then that can be handled in the future. But under this current ordinance, Hempel City have agreed to split the cost of installing the wiring and the light poles themselves. That will be handled between the two parties.
Okay.
So the question, I think, comes back to what Brian explained, is how we will get there. If you desire, if this board desires a letter of such, we can provide that in conjunction with him.
I think the solution that you all come up with is great. I wonder if it should be formalized somehow, so that's the same thing that happens next time. And next time.
I think point of clarification, something needs to be stated there, yes. I agree with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? We need to hear from the applicant. Anybody want to hear from the applicant? Sir, thank you. Name, sir?
Jim Worley Jr., project engineer, 4800 Rosebud Lane, Newburgh, Indiana.
Promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Good.
If you don't mind, I have some exhibits I'd like to pass out. Would that be all right?
Sure.
Pass it that sort of direction. They're all
Okay.
the same. Take one down and pass it around there. You can throw the rest of them away, it don't matter. They're not that fancy. Jim Worley Jr., pretty excited about this project. We have a great team. Jago Homes will be building all the homes in this area. They're the leader in home construction in this part of the Midwest for sure. Branson Surveying has done the plat work, and Morley's doing the engineering work. On the exhibit I passed out, I tried to kind of, the plans are pretty exciting, but they got a lot of engineer speak on them. This basically is a layout of what the roads will look like out in this project. Kind of shows where the Walmart, where the Lowe's is and how it ties in. As Mr. Bishop said, we have 292 lots. They range 52 foot, 62 foot, and 72 foot wide lots, which is a pretty standard size lot anymore for new home construction and subdivisions for single family homes. A little over 2 miles of road. We have 2 stormwater detention basins. You'll see the dark blue kind of squarish area. That's a wet basin in which we'll store stormwater detention there. And then at the bottom, there's a kind of a triangle blue dash line. That is a regional dry detention basin that was installed years and years ago kind of for this whole development area. The stormwater detention for this project will split and go to 2 different locations. The project will start, but it has 2 interconnections, one out to Barrett and then the other one into Balmoral. And then eventually in the future, there will be 2 extensions going out to the south as that ground down there will develop at some point in the future, I would assume. All those interconnections have all been worked through with staff. This is a great project along the, I'm going to call it the northern side. There's a large open space area there. I think it's about 8 acres. And that'll be maintained by homeowners association. It's also where the detention basin is. And there's a tree line through there that'll remain between the neighborhood and the open space area. And then all of the lots on the plat that's on the screen now, the lots around the exterior typically are deeper lots than on the interior, just to kind of create some extra space around the surrounding area that's already been developed. The streets are all laid out in a traffic soothing manner. But it's a great subdivision. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, one quick question, just on the roads in general. So the more detailed plat that's up there is basically marked off into 5 phases. Mm-hmm. Will the road development kind of match those phases, or will this kind of be infrastructure road be built first, maybe not in the same conjunction or timetable as the phases?
So the intent is to do the dirt work kind of all at once, but the roads will be built kind of per phase. I don't know how clear that is for you all. Kind of the first phase is kind of this area here is the first phase, and then this kind of the center point here is the second. The third comes up here, the fourth across the top, and then the fifth is kind of in the heart of it there. I'm not sure if you guys can see those colors. I can see it here, but I'm not sure it's real clear there. So. And my shaky hands probably didn't help, sorry.
So basically the intent is the road frontage will grow as the development grows. Yeah. It's not going to be all...
Yeah, they won't build all the roads at once.
Initially. Okay.
Yeah, they'll build the roads per phase. And infrastructure would come in per phase too. Dirt work kind of gets done up front because of the way a site balances, where you got to move dirt from here to fill this area and whatever. But infrastructure gets built per phase.
Good. Any other questions for this gentleman? Anything else you'd like to share, sir?
No, I don't have anything.
Good. Thank you.
Oh,
by all means.
I wanted to clarify, Mr. Bishop, are you going to refer to the bonding portion of it? And just to clarify, on a subdivision of this size, you design the entire system at once because they interconnect all over the place. And so the entire system gets interconnected at once, or gets designed at once because of the interconnect, and they play off of one another. Drainage flows from one phase into the other phase, and water comes from one phase out of the other phase. And so the entire system gets designed at once, and that's what the plan set that was submitted is for all 292 lots. But it'll be built in phases, and the final plat will be recorded in phases. And because I assume you're going to speak shortly about the bonding, it's the intent that the bond value that would be bonded is what is the infrastructure in each phase as the phase is recorded for any construction that's left to be done.
Is everybody clear? This is where the final plat comes into play. So, for example, with the previous subdivision, he was not going to build in the same manner that the Jago subdivision was. He was going to go in and basically bond everything at the beginning, so that way he could go ahead and start getting building permits and things of that nature. Whereas Jim mentioned, they have section 1 built, that final plat will be recorded because that portion of the street, the public improvements, everything, will have already been built. So there would be no need to bond the infrastructure. Clear as mud?
Yeah.
Can't sell a lot, so it's all good.
Yeah, and that's the key that I think Mr. Boyd referenced earlier. Depending, say, for example, at section 1, the houses in section 1 cannot be transferred to private ownership until that final plat is recorded. Final plat will not be recorded until all the needed infrastructure is built and has been inspected.
Including streetlights.
Including streetlights.
Okay, thank you. Anything else you'd like to share with us, sir?
Is there any questions, if y'all have any?
Any questions? Very good. Thank you. Anyone else like to shed any light on this? Staff, anything else you'd like to share?
No, sir.
Questions from the commission? I'll entertain a motion in regard to the Bentley Point Planning Unit Development Preliminary and Construction Drawings as presented.
This is a motion to approve, correct? Mr. Chairman, I offer a motion to approve the Bentley Point Plan Unit Development Preliminary and Construction Drawings as submitted by Deer Valley Subdivision LLC in the city of Henderson for the property located in the city of Henderson, located at Barrett Boulevard, PID 65-13.2, containing approximately 87.3 acres. Applicants are requesting preliminary approval for 292 lots in the planned unit development.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Kevin Richard.
Yes.
Bobby Jarrett.
Yes.
Mac Arnold.
Yes.
XR Royster.
Yes.
Vicki Johnson.
Yes.
Reed Gibson.
Yes.
Trey Hodge.
Yes.
Kevin Herron.
Yes.
Frank Boyette.
Yes.
Heather Tays.
Yes.
Very good. The motion passes. The only other item I see here is the Cates Minor Subdivision, lot number 2. Mark?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So you will see the plat in the very back of your packet. It's been a little bit since we've done these, but the subdivision regulations do bring up the discussion of 3-in-1 lots, which is what we would call a flag lot, and the potential discouragement against those just because of what they create. So we are required to bring those to you all for approval. So you will see that this is considered a 3-in-1 flag lot. And so that is why it's in your packet for approval. The surveyor's here if you all have any questions for them.
Any questions for staff? Questions for the applicant?
Yeah, I guess Cliff, you addressing it?
Yes, sir, if you might have any questions.
Yeah. Come on up. Oh, come on down.
Your name, sir?
Clifford Crawwinkle, 505 Canoe Creek Drive, Henderson, Kentucky.
You promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Absolutely.
Very good.
I guess my concern is that the only way that lot could be configured?
Well, the problem is the entire farm is complete farm ground. We are creating an ingress and egress easement that is along the driveway. Other than that driveway, everything out there that, other than tree lines along the perimeter, is complete crop ground. There's family members that own the farm ground. They're trying to create a lot around the farmhouse without getting into the farm ground for future use.
Okay.
The existing home structure is at the back of that.
Absolutely, it's just in the buildable area like you see in a lot of rural areas. Up front is more of a low-lying area. So when the family decided to build on the farm, they built in the best suited spot to build. And of course, as you can see, there's a little flood zone behind it. So it's in a high area, but it kind of drops off behind it. It's dropped off up front. So again, it was just the best buildable area, and so they're just trying to divide that. So in the future, because there are a lot of lenders that simply will not allow somebody to buy a home that's sitting on 20, 100 acres. They'll finance it on 5 acres or 8 acres, but when you get over 10, you're looking at Farm Credit Services, you're looking at only certain entities will be willing to even finance that.
Very good. Any other questions for this gentleman?
Nope.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion in regard to the Kate's Minor subdivision, lot number 2.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the Kate Minor subdivision, lot number 2. Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? Madam Secretary, please call.
Heather Chase.
Yes.
Frank Boyette.
Yes.
Kevin Herron.
Yes.
Gray Hodge.
Yes.
Terry Gibson.
Yes.
Dickie Johnson.
Yes.
XR Royster.
Yes.
Mac Arnold.
Yes.
Bobby Jarrett. Yes. Kevin Richard.
Yes.
Very good, the motion passes. Do we have any other business to come before us tonight? Anyone in the audience want to bring something before us tonight? Staff, anything else for us?
No, sir.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second, any discussion? All in favor of adjournment, say yes.
Yes.
Anybody opposed? I think we're adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Made it in time.